The invitation was not addressed to me. It came to my phone as a photo forwarded by my neighbor's daughter, who was in the same parent group as Marcus's new girlfriend. A screenshot of a pale yellow card with hand-drawn balloons and the words Lily's 7th birthday. Come celebrate. The venue was the Sunridge Community Center on Elm Avenue. Saturday, October 14th. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I recognized the handwriting on the digital card. It was not Marcus's. His new girlfriend, Priya, had drawn the balloons herself, each one in a different color, small and careful, the way someone does when they are trying to make something feel like home. My daughter's name is Nadia Chen. She turned 7 at 3:42 in the afternoon on October 14, 2023, the same time she was born 7 years earlier at St. Catherine's Medical Center, when I held her for the first time and she opened her eyes and looked at me with the complete, unhurried attention of someone who had just arrived from somewhere very quiet. I was not on the invitation list. I knew this because I had not been told. Because no one called. Because the only way I learned about the party at all was through a forwarded screenshot from a neighbor I barely knew. Because that is how my life had worked for 3 years. In forwarded screenshots and overheard mentions and pieces of my daughter's childhood delivered to me sideways, like something that had fallen off a shelf meant for someone else. I set my phone face down on my kitchen counter. The counter was clean. I had cleaned it that morning at 6:15, before the light came through the window over the sink, because cleaning was something I could do with my hands when the rest of me had no useful task. The court filing was on the table. Case number 2023 FC00841. Family Court, Division 3, the Honorable Patricia Herrera presiding. I had read it so many times the staple had loosened in the top left corner and I had replaced it twice. The hearing date was printed in bold type at the top of page 1. October 15, 2023. 9 o'clock in the morning. The birthday party was at 2 in the afternoon on October 14th. 14 hours separated my daughter's birthday from the morning that would determine whether I was allowed to be her mother. I folded the corner of the court filing back into place. I pressed my thumb against the staple until it held. My name is Nadia Chen. I was 31 years old in October 2023. I am a licensed structural engineer. I had been working for Holloway plus Reyes Engineering for 6 years, the last 3 of them from a desk in the second bedroom of my apartment on Claremont Street, because I could not afford to live closer to the office and also pay the legal fees that had become the organizing fact of my financial life. I met Marcus Vance when I was 25 at a mutual friend's dinner party in the East Side neighborhood. He was 32, handsome in a conventional way, a project manager at a mid-sized construction company. He was calm, attentive, good at the surface-level performance of a relationship. We were married 14 months later in a civil ceremony with 40 guests. My mother flew in from Vancouver. My father had passed away when I was 19. Marcus's family filled most of the room. Lily was born in our 3rd year of marriage. For approximately 18 months after that, we were a family in the functional sense. 2 people sharing a child and a household, going through the motions of a life we had agreed to build together. Then the motions stopped feeling shared and started feeling like a performance only I was committed to. I filed for divorce when Lily was 2.5. The divorce itself was not contentious. The custody arrangement was. Marcus had grown up watching his own mother manage his father, and somewhere in the architecture of that childhood, he had learned that control was the same as love. He was not violent. He was precise. He knew exactly which lever to pull and when. The lever once I filed was Lily. The original agreement, negotiated in mediation in early 2021, gave us joint legal custody with a 50-50 physical split. Lily would alternate weeks between our homes. It was reasonable on paper. For 7 months it functioned. In September 2021, Marcus began introducing Nadia, me, to Lily's teachers, her pediatrician, the parents of her nursery school classmates, as a family friend who helps with childcare sometimes. I learned about this from Lily's nursery school teacher, Ms. Joanne Park, who pulled me aside at pickup one Thursday afternoon and asked gently whether there was something she should know about the family situation, because Lily had told her at circle time that she had 2 houses and 1 mommy and 1 nice lady who takes care of her. I called Marcus that evening. He answered on the second ring, his voice even and accommodating the way it always was when he was doing something deliberate. He gets confused, he said. Lily gets confused about adult roles. I'm just simplifying things for her. She is 3 years old, I said. She is not confused. She knows who her mother is. Nadia. I'm not arguing with you. This is about what's best for Lily. The conversation lasted 11 minutes. At the end of it, nothing had changed except that I had confirmed something I had already suspected. Marcus was not going to stop. I called my attorney Margaret Osei the following morning. Margaret was a family law attorney at Osei and Brightwell, a two-partner firm on the 4th floor of the Meridian building downtown. She was 44 years old, precise, and had the specific kind of patience that comes from spending a decade watching family court proceedings. She was not easily alarmed. When I told her what Marcus had said to Lily's teacher, she was quiet for a moment. Start a log, she said. Date, time, what was said, who witnessed it. Everything. I started a log. By January 2022, I had 14 entries. The pattern was not dramatic. That is what made it effective. Marcus did not scream. He did not threaten. He sent emails with subject lines like Lily's routine and check-in schedule that were reasonable in tone and quietly corrosive in content. He asked teachers to contact him first because he was the primary point of contact for school matters. He told Lily's pediatrician, Dr. Renata Espinoza, that I had some difficulty with consistency and he would be managing Lily's appointments going forward. Dr. Espinoza mentioned this to me at a well-child visit in March 2022, again gently, the way people mention something they are not sure how to classify. I did not react. I wrote it in the log. March 14, 2022, 10:30 a.m. Dr. Espinoza, Lily's pediatrician at Northside Pediatrics. Marcus told her I have difficulty with consistency. He requested to be primary contact for medical appointments. I also called Margaret. We filed a motion to enforce the custody agreement in April 2022. Family court granted us a hearing date in July. At the July hearing, Marcus presented himself as cooperative and concerned, a father doing his best in a difficult co-parenting situation. His attorney, a man named David Keller who had a very good suit and a very practiced expression, submitted a declaration describing my work schedule as unpredictable and my living situation as unstable due to frequent apartment changes. I had moved once from a two-bedroom I could no longer afford after legal fees began accumulating, to the apartment on Claremont Street. Once. The judge at the July hearing ordered a 90-day mediated co-parenting program and modified the physical custody arrangement to supervised visitation for Ms. Chen pending evaluation. Supervised visitation. I drove home from that hearing and sat in my car in the parking garage of my building for 37 minutes. I did not cry. Something went very still inside me, the way things go still just before a very large and quiet shift in understanding. I had been operating under the assumption that the system would recognize what Marcus was doing. That the log, the witnesses, the patterns I had documented would be legible to someone in authority. What I understood sitting in that parking garage was that legibility took longer than I had calculated. And that the only thing I could do was keep building the record and outlast him. I texted Margaret, "What do I do now?" Her reply came in 4 minutes. "We keep going. Schedule the evaluation. Document every supervised visit. Every single one." I scheduled the evaluation. The supervised visits were held at the Northside Family Resource Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. A family services coordinator named Rosalind Tran oversaw them. She was in her late 50s, gray-haired, unhurried. She sat in a chair near the window with a clipboard and took notes. She did not interfere. She observed. The first visit was November 3, 2021, at 4:02 p.m. Lily ran to me the moment she came through the door. She was 3 years and 8 months old. She had my mother's eyes and a gap in her front teeth where the left one had come out early. She smelled like the laundry detergent Marcus used, which was different from mine, and for a moment the particular wrongness of that, my daughter smelling like someone else's house, registered somewhere in my chest as a sensation I could not name and did not try to. "Mommy," she said. I held her. She talked for 40 minutes about a book she had been reading about elephants. I held her the entire time. I noted the time I arrived, 3:58 p.m. I noted the time Lily arrived, 4:02 p.m. I noted what she wore, what she said, how she behaved. I noted that she called me mommy without hesitation. I documented every visit in a separate section of the log. 47 total between November 2021 and October 2023. Every one. The phone call came on a Wednesday evening in October 2022, 11 months into the supervised visitation arrangement. I was at my desk, running stress calculations on a pedestrian bridge project. The number was Marcus's. I answered. I need to talk to you about Lily, he said. His voice was the way it always was. Measured, reasonable, performing concern. Of course, I said. What is it? She's been asking questions. About you. About why you don't come to her school events. I've been trying to explain it in a way she can understand. I set my pencil down. What have you been telling her? Just that you have some things you're working on. That you're not able to be there the way I am right now. Pause. She asked me last week if you were her real mommy. I was quiet. What did you say to her? I said you were someone who cares about her very much. His voice shifted, something careful underneath it. He's still young, Nadia. If we can just let the situation stabilize. If you don't push too hard. It's confusing for her when she hears different things. She's my daughter, I said. He cannot be confused about that. She is 7, she is not yet 7. He knows who I am. She knows who takes care of her every day. Still measured. Still the voice of someone performing reasonableness. She can't know you're her mother the way she knows me. It confuses her. I'm just asking you to think about what's best for her development right now. Something in me landed hard and went still. The way a scale tips and then holds. I see, I said. Good. I just think. I have to go, I said. I ended the call at 7:14 p.m. I opened a new document in my log. I wrote the date, the time, the exact words as precisely as I could reconstruct them. She can't know you're her mother. It confuses her. I noted that Marcus said this 11 months into a supervised visitation arrangement he had helped engineer through misrepresentations to Lily's teachers and pediatrician. Then I called Margaret. She picked up on the third ring. It was 7:22 p.m. He said what? I read her the log entry. Margaret was quiet for 4 seconds. Forward me that log entry tonight, she said. All of it. Every entry since November. I want everything in my hands before the weekend. What are we doing? We're filing for full custody. I've been building toward this for a year. We have enough. I forwarded the log. I closed my laptop. I set my phone on the desk. I looked at the window over my desk, which faced the building across the alley, lit in a yellow grid of other people's evenings. I did not feel anything I could name. Something in my chest had a quality like compressed air. Not pain, not anger, just pressure held very still, waiting. Margaret filed the petition for modification of custody on November 4, 2022 at 9 a.m. The petition ran to 41 pages and included the complete log, a declaration from Rosalind Tran at the Family Resource Center, a declaration from Lily's nursery school teacher Ms. Park, and a declaration from Dr. Espinoza at Northside Pediatrics, each documenting specific instances of Marcus misrepresenting my role in Lily's life. At 11:30 a.m. that same day, Margaret called me. Filed and served, she said. David Keller's office acknowledged receipt at 11:15. What happens now? Now we wait for a hearing date, and now we ask the court to appoint a child psychologist to do a developmental assessment. I want an independent evaluation of how Lily understands her family relationships. If she has been conditioned to see you as a non-parental figure, that is documented evidence of parental alienation. How long does the evaluation take? The court-appointed psychologist has 60 days from appointment to submit the report. And the hearing? Family court is running about 8 months out for modification hearings right now. 8 months. I wrote it down. November 2022 plus 8 months. July 2023. The hearing was ultimately scheduled for October 15, 2023. 11 months from filing. I marked it in my calendar. I returned to the pedestrian bridge calculations. I kept going to the visits on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I kept writing the log. The court-appointed child psychologist was Dr. Sandra Kwan, a developmental psychologist at the University Medical Center's Family Psychology Clinic. She was 49 years old, methodical, known in family court for assessments that were unusually thorough and unusually readable by non-specialists. Margaret had requested her specifically. Dr. Kwan met with Lily 4 times between January and March 2023. She met with Marcus twice. She met with me twice, once at her clinic and once during an observation of a supervised visit at the Family Resource Center, where she sat near Rosalind Tran's usual chair with a different clipboard and took different notes. Her report was submitted to the court on March 29, 2023. It ran to 23 pages. I was not permitted to read it before the hearing. Margaret was. On April 3, 2023, Margaret called me at 8:47 a.m. "I've reviewed Dr. Kwan's report," she said. "And it's comprehensive. It documents the confusion Lily has been experiencing about your role in her life in clinical language, with specific reference to language patterns that are consistent with parental alienation syndrome. It recommends an immediate revision to the custody arrangement and cites the supervised visitation structure as contributing to Lily's confusion rather than resolving it." I sat down. I was standing in my kitchen. I sat on the floor back against the cabinet under the sink. "Is it enough? Combined with your log and the 3 declarations, yes. But Nadia, I want to be honest with you. We're in front of Judge Herrera. She is thorough. She will review everything. The hearing will be long. We should not expect an immediate ruling from the bench." "Okay," I said. "I'll call you if anything changes before October." I stayed on the kitchen floor for another several minutes. The cabinet door handle was cold against my shoulder. The refrigerator made a sound it always made, a small metallic click every 40 minutes or so that I had stopped noticing until just then. 11 months from filing. 6 more months from now. I set my phone on the floor. I did not respond to it for a while. The night of October 14th, I drove to Sunridge Community Center at 1:30 in the afternoon. I parked across the street in the lot of a dry cleaner that was closed on Saturdays. I could see the community center entrance from where I sat. Yellow and white balloons had been tied to the door handles in pairs. A hand-lettered sign in the window read Lily's birthday, "Welcome," in purple marker. The same careful handwriting as the invitation. Parents arrived in pairs and small groups. Children ahead of them, already excited before they reached the door. I watched a girl in a pink jacket run up the steps. A boy with a dinosaur backpack. 2 children holding hands, arguing about something, laughing before they reached the entrance. My daughter was inside. At 3:42 p.m. exactly, I noted the time on my phone. Lily was 7 years old. I did not go in. I had not been invited. Going in without an invitation would have given Marcus a filing. I had not spent 11 months building this record to give him a filing the night before the hearing. I sat in the parking lot until 4:15. Then I drove home. That night I could not sleep in the way that involves lying completely still, not tossing, not restless, just awake and very present in the dark of my bedroom. The court filing was on my nightstand. Case number 2023 FC00841. I did not pick it up. I had read it enough times to know it. I thought about the first time Lily fell asleep on my chest in the hospital room at St. Catherine's, the full weight of her against my sternum, her breathing so rapid and light it was almost like a vibration, and how I had held perfectly still for 40 minutes because I did not want to disturb it. I thought about a Tuesday in February, visit number 23, when she had climbed into my lap unprompted and told me in great seriousness that elephants grieved their dead, and was I aware of this? I had told her I was aware. She had nodded with great satisfaction and stayed in my lap for the rest of the hour. I thought about Marcus's voice on the phone. "She can't know you're her mother." Something shifted. Not anger. I had moved through anger a long time ago and come out somewhere quieter on the other side. It was something more like clarity. The absolute settled recognition that I had done what I could do. That Margaret had done what she could do. That Dr. Kwan had done what she could do. That 47 visit logs, 3 declarations and 23 pages of developmental assessment had been submitted to the court. That tomorrow a judge would read all of it. I set the court filing back on the nightstand at 11:52 p.m. I turned the light off. I closed my eyes. Patience is not weakness, I thought. It is timing. I slept. I was awake at 5:30 a.m. on October 15th. I made coffee. I showered. I pressed the blazer I had set out the night before, a dark navy one that I had bought 2 years earlier for a project presentation and had worn to every court-adjacent meeting since. I ate half a piece of toast. I could not eat the second half. At 7:15 a.m. I confirmed the hearing time with Margaret by text. 9 a.m. sharp. I'll be at the clerk's office at 8:30. Meet me in the hallway outside courtroom 4 at 8:45. I'll be there, I wrote. I left my apartment at 8 a.m. The morning was cold for October, clear, the kind of light that makes buildings look slightly more defined than usual, edges sharper. I drove to the family court building on Meridian Avenue, parked in the public garage on the second level, and walked the 4 blocks to the entrance. Margaret was already in the hallway outside courtroom 4 when I arrived at 8:43. She was in a charcoal blazer, reading glasses on, reviewing a document she held flat against her forearm. "Good," she said when she saw me. No preamble. "How are you?" "Ready," I said. She looked at me over her glasses for a moment. "I spoke with Dr. Kwan's office yesterday afternoon. She has been notified she may be called to testify. She confirmed she is available." "Is she coming?" "Not unless Keller calls her. If he doesn't, we may. But I want to hold her in reserve." Margaret closed the document and slid it into her folder. "Here is what I want you to do today," he said. "You listen. You do not react to anything Keller says regardless of what it is. You respond only when Judge Herrera addresses you directly. You look at the judge, not at Marcus." I nodded. "Do you have the log?" I handed her the printed copy, 178 pages, tabbed and indexed. She had seen it many times. She took it without looking at it and placed it in her bag. We entered courtroom 4 at 8:55 a.m. Marcus was already there. He was seated at the respondent's table with David Keller, who was in the same good suit as always. Marcus did not look at me when I came in. He looked at his phone, then put it away, then folded his hands on the table in a gesture that I recognized as prepared. He had practiced being here. Judge Patricia Herrera took the bench at 9:04 a.m. She was in her late 50s, silver-haired, reading glasses on a chain. She moved through the procedural opening without particular hurry or particular speed. She confirmed the case number. She confirmed the parties. She confirmed that Dr. Kwan's report had been submitted and reviewed. Then she looked up from her documents and addressed the room. "I want to say at the outset," she said, "that I have reviewed the complete record in this case. The petition, the exhibits, the declarations, and Dr. Kwan's developmental assessment. I have questions for both counsel. We will proceed." The hearing lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Keller presented first. He submitted 3 declarations from witnesses in Marcus's social network: a neighbor, a colleague, and a parent from Lily's school, all describing Marcus as an attentive, present father. He submitted records of Lily's school attendance, medical appointments attended by Marcus, and extracurricular activities he had enrolled her in. He argued that the supervised visitation arrangement had been established for Lily's stability and that disrupting it now would cause her harm. Then he said carefully, in the tone of someone presenting a reasonable concern, "Mr. Vance has noted that Ms. Chen's work schedule and living situation have been sources of instability for Lily. He simply wants what is best for his daughter." Margaret did not react visibly to this. She wrote something on a notepad. She underlined it once. When Margaret presented, she was precise and sequential. She walked Judge Herrera through the log entry by entry for the relevant incidents, not all 178 pages, but the 17 she had indexed as highest priority. She read Rosalind Tran's declaration aloud at a pace that allowed the judge to follow it in her own copy. She read Ms. Park's declaration. She read Dr. Espinosa's declaration. Then she submitted Dr. Kwan's report and asked the judge whether she wished to call Dr. Kwan to testify. Judge Herrera studied the report for a full 90 seconds before answering. "Not at this time," she said. "I have read the report thoroughly. I may have questions for Dr. Kwan in chambers after this proceeding. Please ensure she remains available." "She is available," Margaret said. Judge Herrera looked up. She looked at Marcus. She looked at me. She looked back at her documents. "I am going to take a 30-minute recess to review the final documents and prepare my ruling." She removed her glasses. "Both parties will remain available." She left the bench at 1:09 p.m. I did not speak to Margaret during the recess. I sat in my chair and looked at the far wall of the courtroom, which was the color of old paper. I breathed at a regular rate. Marcus and Keller spoke in low voices at their table. I did not look at them. At 1:39 p.m. Judge Herrera returned. She took the bench. She put on her glasses. She picked up the first document from the stack in front of her and read the case number aloud. Case 2023 FC 00841. In the matter of Lily Marie Chen Vance. Modification of custody. She looked up. The court has reviewed the complete record in this case, including the petition filed by Ms. Chen on November 4, 2022. The exhibits and declarations submitted by both parties, and the developmental assessment prepared by Dr. Sandra Kwan, submitted to this court on March 29, 2023. She turned a page. Dr. Kwan's assessment documents a pattern of confusion in the minor child regarding her maternal relationship that is consistent with, and the assessment uses this clinical language explicitly, parental alienation. This court finds this documentation credible and corroborated by the supporting declarations. She turned another page. The court further finds that the supervised visitation arrangement currently in place has not served its stated purpose of stabilizing the child's home environment. The record indicates that this arrangement was established based on representations that this court now finds to be materially inaccurate. She looked up again. At Marcus first. Then at me. This court grants the petition for modification of custody filed by Nadia Chen. He read my name. Sole legal and physical custody of the minor child Lily Marie Chen Vance is awarded to Nadia Chen, effective immediately upon entry of this order. She turned one more page. Mr. Vance is granted supervised visitation, to be scheduled through the Northside Family Resource Center, pending a separate evaluation by this court. Mr. Vance is further ordered to attend a court-monitored co-parenting intervention program, the details of which will be included in the written order. She set down the document. She removed her glasses. This court will prepare the written order today. Ms. Chen, you may request a certified copy from the clerk's office beginning at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Do you have any questions? I did not trust my voice for a moment. I found it. Oh, Your Honor. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down at 1:47 p.m. I did not look at Marcus. I looked at the table in front of me. Margaret placed her hand on my arm once, briefly, and then removed it and began organizing her documents. I heard Marcus and Keller behind me, low voices, the sound of a chair scraping. I did not turn. I stood up. I walked to the hallway. I stood in the hallway outside courtroom 4 and looked at the window at the far end, which faced a parking structure, and I breathed. Margaret came out 2 minutes later. She stood beside me. She did not say anything immediately. Okay, she said finally. Yes, I said. We pick up Lily at the Family Resource Center. I'm calling Rosalind Tran now to alert her. We get a certified copy of the order at 4 and we present it at pickup. She was already dialing. Are you ready? I was not ready. I had been working toward this moment for 2 years and I was not ready for what came after it, which was the actual shape of the life I had been fighting to get back. Yes, I said. Rosalind Tran was at the Family Resource Center when we arrived at 3:15 p.m. She read the order Margaret handed her, turned it over to read the second page and handed it back. I'll notify Mr. Vance's attorney, she said. Her voice was the same unhurried voice she had used during 47 supervised visits. You can wait in room B. I'll bring Lily to you. I waited in room B. It was the same room where all 47 visits had taken place. The same table, the same chairs, the same window overlooking the parking area. The same chair near the window where Rosalind had always sat with her clipboard. The door opened at 3:28 p.m. Lily came through it first, the way she always did, ahead of whoever was escorting her, already moving toward me before the door had fully opened. She stopped when she saw me. She was wearing a purple dress that I had not seen before, with a small bow at the collar. Her hair was in 2 braids. She had glitter on her face, purple and gold from the birthday party. Some of it had migrated to her collar. She looked at me for a moment with the complete, unhurried attention that she had had since the day she was born. Then she walked across the room and put her arms around me. I held her. I held still. I did not make a sound. Hi, Mommy, she said into my shoulder. Hi, Lily, I said. She leaned back and looked at me. You have glitter on you now. I know, I said. It's from me, she said. Informative tone. Entirely unbothered. I know, I said. I don't mind. She considered this. Then she slid her hand into mine and turned toward the door. Can we go home? She asked. Yes, I said. We can go home. The certified copy of the custody order was ready at the clerk's office at 4:07 p.m. I picked it up with Lily standing beside me, holding my hand, examining a display of public notice pamphlets with the focused interest of someone who finds everything equally interesting. Margaret stood beside us while the clerk stamped the copy. She handed it to me without comment. I held it with both hands for a moment, feeling its weight, which was exactly the same as any other 2 sheets of paper, which was somehow strange. 3 days later, on October 18th, I received a call from David Keller's office. His paralegal informed me in a careful, neutral voice that Mr. Vance had been served with the written custody order and that his office would be in contact regarding the co-parenting program enrollment. "Thank you," I said. I set the phone down. A week after the hearing on October 22nd, Margaret called to confirm that the modification had been entered into the court's permanent record. "Stunned," she said. "Fully entered. No pending appeals." By November, the shape of the new routine began to form. Lily started at Claremont Elementary, 4 blocks from my apartment. She walked with me to school in the mornings. She told me about elephants and then about wolves, and then about a specific type of cloud called a mammatus cloud that she had seen in a book about weather and considered extremely important. On November 8th, I picked her up from school at 3:15 p.m. We walked home. She told me about her reading group and a girl in it named Sophie who was extremely funny and had a dog named Pretzel. We made dinner together. Pasta with butter and parmesan, which was her specific preference. No substitutions permitted. She sat across from me at my kitchen table, the table I had cleaned that morning at 6:15 a month ago when the hearing was still 2 weeks away, and she ate her pasta with the concentrated attention of someone for whom pasta is serious business. "Mommy," she said. "Yes." "Am I going to go to Dad's house sometimes?" I looked at her. "Yes." "You'll visit your dad on scheduled days. There will be a plan for it." She nodded. She twirled another forkful. "Okay," she said. That was all. I did not ask what she was thinking. I let her have whatever she was thinking. I thought about what Marcus had said. She can't know you're her mother. It confuses her. He knew. He had always known. She had run to me in 47 supervised visits and called me mommy without hesitation every single time. Whatever confusion Marcus had introduced into the description of our relationship, her body had kept the correct record all along. On a Tuesday evening in late November, I was sitting at my desk when my phone showed a text from a number I did not recognize. "This is Marcus. I want to ask if we can talk. Not through lawyers." I set the phone down. I picked it up again a few minutes later. "Not yet," I wrote back. I sent it. I was not ready to talk to him yet. I did not know if I would be. There was a version of this where, eventually, we found a way to co-parent that was functional and decent for Lily's sake. There was also a version where the supervised visitation structure remained in place for a long time because he had not yet demonstrated that it should be otherwise. Both versions were possible. Neither was urgent. What was urgent was that Lily was asleep in the next room, in the small bedroom with the bookshelves I had filled before she arrived, and she had asked me to leave the lamp on because she was still getting used to the apartment and I had left it on. What was urgent was that I could hear her breathing from the hallway. I had spent 3 years doing the one thing available to me: building the record, making the calls, attending the visits, writing the log, sitting in courtrooms, waiting. I had done all of it quietly, without ceremony, without announcing to anyone that I was doing it. There had been no audience for any of it. There had been no moment when someone looked at what I was doing and confirmed that it was correct. But patience is not a performance. It is not weakness. It does not require an audience or a confirmation. It is the act of continuing to do the right thing when nothing around you is moving yet, when the court dates are 8 months away and the visits are supervised and the voice on the phone is telling you that your daughter does not know you are her mother. Patience is the decision to keep the log one more time, to attend the visit one more Tuesday, to trust that what is real does not stop being real because someone has temporarily convinced a system otherwise. The timing will come. It always does. You do not have to speed it up. You only have to still be there when it arrives. If you have ever had to fight for your place in someone's life, really fight quietly without anyone watching, I want you to know that what you are doing matters. Even when no one sees it. Especially then. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. I share stories like this every week. See you in the next one.